So today I thought we'd do something different. I thought we would speak about the first 3 chakras, the crown, the third eye, and the throat. And then perhaps next week we'll go into the next 3 chakra centers. And so many of us, we have no relationship with our crown chakra. We walk around in a state where we're absolutely closed, absolutely cut off from divine grace. And I can say, thankfully, one of the gifts that I came into this lifetime with was this openness to God, openness to grace. And it has made such a radical difference in my life to have the crown chakra open. It was never an issue for me. But I know many individuals, many of you have no idea even what it's like to have the crown chakra open. And so I invite you all, in this moment to bring your attention to your crown, to the top of your head, and just notice, is it open? Is it radiant? Is it receptive to God? And so many of you have told me that you have no relationship to God. And normally, for an individual, when you have no relationship to God, it's because your crown chakra is not open. And oftentimes when the crown chakra is not open, you feel isolated, you feel alone in the world. There's a deep feeling almost of like victimhood, of like me against life. It's me here alone in this world. It brings me great pain even just to imagine that. What it would be like to have no connection with God. And of course, in this moment, I don't want you to go into your thoughts about God, your anger towards God. I invite you to put all that aside. Many of us have this thought that because life has not been good to us, there is not a God. But in the realm of divinity, that math equation does not make sense. We live in an evolutionary world. That doesn't mean there's not a God. That means you've experienced the toughness of evolution. But if you open your crown and invite God to come into you, you immediately begin to feel this descent, this radiance, this sense of aliveness. And one of the doorways you have to walk through, if this is difficult for you, is the doorway of prayer, of trust, of humility. This is the doorway of the crown chakra. In a sense, it's a willingness to let go of this egoic wall that we've built around ourselves and say, I'm willing to be open. I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to receive something greater. And if you're struggling with this at all, of course, I can remind you, we're opening to the greatest force of love, the greatest force of peace in the universe. This is what we're opening to. The greatest force of love, the greatest force of peace, the greatest force of compassion and intelligence in the universe. It is the universe. And so it's this willingness to open the crown and to receive. And the reason I say the doorway of prayer, because oftentimes through prayer we must be humble. But the prayer must be, how shall I say this? Must be a true prayer. Not a prayer where we're bartering with God. God, if you make my life good, then I will bow before you. I'll live a religious or spiritual life or whatever. It's not that type of prayer. That's a silly prayer. The prayer is, God, will you flood my being with your grace, with your love? Will you show me who I am? Will you hold me? Will you come into my life and live through me as me? For we are God. And we falsely identified with ego. Because we're in an evolutionary world, and because sometimes life is tough. And so when life is tough, we identify with ego, we forget about God, and then we feel victimized and alone in this world. And the invitation this day, in relationship to the crown chakra, is opening. Can we open to our best friend, our highest nature, our divine self? Can we open to the highest aspects of divinity, flooding this body, easing our pain, easing our tension, easing our struggle? Can we open to that which is intelligent, that which is greater than our own mind? So are we willing to surrender our thoughts and to step into this greater flow of divinity? But it takes humility. It takes a willingness to be vulnerable. But again, we must remember, we're not being vulnerable before war or violence. We're being open and vulnerable before God, the force of love. And as you do so, you begin to feel connected. You begin to feel radiant and alive. You begin to feel blissful and infused with light. You no longer feel alone in the world. You know you have this silent partner. You know, it's funny, after I give a talk and someone comes up to me and says, "That was a great talk, Craig." I say, "Thank you. I have a silent partner." Before I speak, I always pray. I say, "God, speak through me, teach through me, live through me, love through me." So if you receive anything today, it's from my silent partner. God is able to speak through us and live through us when the crown is open, when the heart is open, when the throat is clear, when the third eye is empty and free. Empty and free. And so it's this willingness each day, if you feel closed, just to open. When you're walking down the street, open. When you're driving your car, open. And see what you begin to experience.